don't need no stinking title. We just need the live stream, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The live stream, the live Jimmy Doane show. It's what you're watching, unless you're watching it later recorded, which you can do.
You're still watching it anyway.
But you're not watching it live.
No, not live, that's right.
And so anyway, you can do that up on YouTube, Twitter, Parler, and Gab if I am diligent about it. And also you can find us around the web in audio format, Libsyn, Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, SoundCloud, and others. Just Google Jimmy Doane, D-O-A-N-E. If you leave us a message right now, we're streaming on Facebook, which we do twice a week these days, Sunday and Wednesday, New York time. You leave us a comment here, and we will ignore it completely. No, I'll come back halfway through, hopefully. At least that's the plan.
That's the problem with not having a separate.
That's right. I have to wait till you say something boring.
Yeah,
So,
right.
you know. So it'll be
Well, I think it's interesting that
minutes.
Scott Adams on his Periscope kind of watches some of the comments go by. So
Yeah, every once in a while, like at the end or something, he watches.
he does a
when he
little.
says something he's not sure about.
Well, it's what do you call it? Dual. Being able to do two things at the same time. I can't do that at all.
Oh, I got you
Multitask.
covered. Yeah.
I can't even multitask at all, which is one of the reasons I'm in there in my room and I'm on the computer. I'm looking at something on the computer, and Miss Jimmy comes in and scares the crap out of me. And she says, "How? Look, I'm right. How can I?" I said, "You don't understand. I've talk about the one track." She says, "But it's a narrow track too, isn't it?" I figured, thank you so much. So anyway,
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I know it is
It's
narrow
long.
track, new track. Well, I tell you, I really concentrate on some of this stuff. Now, here's the deal. Wasn't there a debate?
Yeah, the VP debate had not happened when last we left our heroes.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Okay, here's the deal. What was the big news, the huge takeaway from that debate? I mean, huge.
For me, the big takeaway was it wasn't that big. It wasn't determinative to me.
It was huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, then maybe the Fly.
Yeah.
Well, what about
The Fly was a monster. It took everything away. Can you imagine what people were sitting there looking?
Well,
and
yeah,
you're sitting there cringeworthy. It was like 2 minutes worth.
Slap the Fly.
Well, nobody could tell him, I guess. And of course, the memes came out.
That's
Come on, the memes came out, and they said, and they showed the Fly sitting on a piece of shit, or they showed no, I'm serious, and they also zeroed in on it, and he's doing in a boat or something like.
Right.
I mean, the memes went crazy on this.
man. I missed that wave.
Oh
That sounds
my
funny.
God, it was incredible. But I just thought,
Yeah, it stood out for me. It was the thing that stood out.
that's what I'm saying.
But-
This is what it wasn't the takeaway, but it was certainly you're sitting there and you're watching it and you can't listen to anything else. I was just talking about one track mind.
Right.
That's what I've got. I'm looking at this going like,
The Fly, right? How is he
and
staying
nobody
there?
told him. I
Right.
mean, there was nothing that. What do you
Like
do?
he got stuck in Pence's super presidential hold Aquanet.
right, exactly.
He
That's,
was,
that's right. When you realize that you're
he was out of his regular Aquanet and he grabbed Trump's bottle.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
he sprayed it on there, and he's got that sort of Reese. Remember Reese from Johnny Quest?
which one was Reese?
Johnny Quest. You remember the
I remember
cartoon?
Johnny Quest. I remember the Reese.
Reese was the other guy. It was Johnny's dad, and Reese was the blonde guy with the hair. Looks just like Pence.
Oh no! I
like a
remember
cat.
there was an Indian guy in there in Johnny Quest.
Haji. Yeah, that was Johnny's friend.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm talking about the adults here.
Oh no,
Okay.
sorry, no. But I'm just saying that what happens is one of the reasons I guess that it takes them so long to get ready for these debates is they have an actual spider that weaves their hair down, and
Okay.
Fly gets caught in. Okay,
Yeah, that's what it was.
that's the.
It was his net,
That's
his
not
hair
the-
net.
Yeah, the hair net. That's right. So I just thought, but I
He
mean,
was
somebody
wearing
was
it to be
saying that
ethnic.
this is the Fly was the mark of the devil. 666.
Clearly. I mean, like you said, when you zoom in on the Fly,
You're right.
He's saying "devil" right here.
They
this is
they
the devil.
showed a flag.
Right, he's got a thing,
he had
sign.
a little thing that said
Right.
Biden.
Right.
Biden.
But you can't read it because it's written in Fly language.
Well, that could be too. But I mean, what I was saying was, you talk about something that practically destroys the whole thing. It's 2 minutes out of an hour and a half.
Look, okay, all right. I was not that distracted by the fly. I mean, it was a thing, whatever. But substance-wise, debate. Who'd you think?
Nothing.
Nothing. You got nothing on?
I got nothing. I got nothing out of that. I mean, really, I got nothing out of that.
What about the level 2, the Mrs. Jimmy level of the? Just how did it feel? How did it feel to you?
Oh yeah.
Right, you wanted to kill yourself.
Just please
2
kill
minutes
me
in,
now.
you
That's right.
gouged
Kill
your
me
eyes
now.
out.
Just, it's okay.
After that, the
I've
pain
I've lived a good life.
Right.
Just kill me now.
Right, okay. Well, all right. Well, then I'll comment on it briefly. I thought, from my perspective, I thought Pence won this one.
Okay.
But just barely. It was more like Kamala lost.
Now this was not a Usain Bolt race. This was a race from people that instead of doing the 10-second, they do the 40-second 100
Right. This was the
dash.
JV team.
That's right, the Super
Well,
JV.
and look, I thought Pence.
They
did-
hobble across the line.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, they look, they're vice presidential. You'd think they would at least be somewhere in the ballpark. And I thought Pence was, except that he still did the super annoying, shut up, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Talking thing. It's like, look, you can finish your sentence. Everybody gets that. You got something to say, that your time goes out, you're in the middle of saying it, finish it. Even if you got to add another small phrase to clarify whatever. But don't just start talking again like and adding nothing. And it was just like, well, dude, you could have done better that way. But she stole the show with obviously her facial expressions, which clearly she's never played poker in her life.
Ah.
Because, I mean, look, have you ever played poker? I mean, you...
Me, I'm the world's worst poker player.
Okay, well then you don't even maybe understand how bad...
No. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you, people, when I'm holding my cards, they look in my
Aces.
eyes, they can actually see the
Can I
cards.
trade in these aces here
Yeah.
for some for some twos? My cards don't even have numbers on them. Here. Well, she is clearly terrible at it. She's terrible at telling lies, and she's terrible at telling the truth. She's terrible at communicating. She's just bad at it. She's like a normal prosecutor at this kind of stuff. She can't believe what she says isn't being accepted at face value, and she wants to express that with this sort of overacting out of her reaction to the whole thing. And I think everybody who was sensitive to it picked up on it.
Well, of course, that's what she did for a living.
I know.
She was in control. She talked to people, and they
accepted
and listed.
Exactly.
That's right.
Nobody questioned her when she said anything. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
She's not used to being questioned.
Right.
She's used to saying some shit, and everybody going, "Okay, ma'am, all right, okay, whatever you say," because you're in charge. And this time they're questioning her, and she's like, "I don't get it." And it's like, look, this is adulthood. This is real life now. People are going to question you, what you say. But I don't know. Pence could have done a better job.
Yeah.
I thought of look. Nobody has taken anybody to the real cleaners. I mean,
No knockout blow.
right. Biden had a chance. He could have, if he was deft a little bit, he could have reacted to Trump's bulliness and just said something like, you see, this guy can't even follow the rules, can't even follow his own agreements. If he can't agree to follow the rules here and follow that, then he's not going to follow through with his agreements to you, the American people. And you
Good
say
point.
you say, what, this guy, he's a child. And then what's he going to do the rest of the whole thing? Keep interrupting like a kid?
Yeah. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, of course, but you're absolutely right. So anyway, there is no more. Apparently, next Thursday or whenever this was supposed to be, not going to happen.
Well, we'll see.
Virtual debate.
There's people are saying yes, they're still going to do it. There are people who are speculating that Trump can't pass up the opportunity because he's technically behind. But I don't think those people are on the Trump team. That is to say, I think the Trump team probably believes that he's not as far behind as the polls indicate.
I'm with the people that don't believe that.
Yeah, I'm with you guys also. To me,
go ahead.
Well, you go.
It is stunning to see the flood of how far Biden is ahead and pulling ahead and going away, and yet they're still nervous and all this kind of stuff. And of course, if they really felt they were that far ahead, you'd shut up and just wait for the the only thing you can do, as they say, is you can buy back the sale. You can, if you start talking now, you're an idiot, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, you're right. If he was really something like 10 points or
There's
more.
some people that are saying 10, 12 points.
I know, but to me, I keep hearing these polls just all over the place. I mean, literally all over the place, and it's different. Obviously, they're different polls, counted different ways. Some of them are.
Well, not only that, some of them are distinctly Democrats, distinctly Republican.
Or there's likely voters versus registered voters.
That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, and they make huge differences, huge swings in the percentages. Like I was saying, if he really had a 10-point lead, then you're right. You put him in the basement. Again, you say, listen, we're winning this with you in the basement. We'll hook you up. Just stay down there. And he already came out and proved he's not feeble-minded or whatever, so he's good there. And then you just let Trump run around and shout and scream and stuff, and you hope people don't like that.
Trump's going to start tomorrow again, I think. I think he's going to down here in Florida. Mm-hmm. Big rally, going to be 10,000 people there or something. It'll be and of course he's screaming that he's immune now to the COVID. I'm immune.
But you all are not immune.
Yeah, whatever. He's maybe Kerry. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Okay. Anything else on the vice president?
No. She didn't laugh, did she?
I don't think she did.
No, because we would have known that.
Yeah,
we would have heard that.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
If she pulled the.
She was trying to control it. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I loved. Scott did a great interpretation or impression of the intern explaining to Kamala what she did wrong. Did you see that?
No.
That was great. He's like, okay, everything from the neck down, good.
Yeah. Well, the new picture that's floating around is her when she was very young with Willie Brown.
They're still trying to drag up that. Like, that's not
something to drag up.
No, that's bullshit. That's her damn personal life. Who gives a crap about that?
She slept her way to the top.
So what? That to me has no bearing on her competence. Like what her love life was at the time, whether or not it was with a. That reflects worse on Willie than it does on her.
Because he was married, right?
Yeah, and in the superior position.
Right.
She's a young girl, whatever, and so.
This is the California version of Monica Lewinsky. Almost.
Maybe. Except nobody ratted the other one out and whatever. It wasn't like a big turnout. But look, so Kamala, I guess. I think you're supposed to say Kamala. With the emphasis on anyway, she what was I going to say?
Camel A.
You can do that. Let's see. I was saying that Willie. The worst part about her is that look, it's clear that she will say anything to advance her political career.
Yeah.
And we know this because she's literally accused the guy on her ticket of being a sexual predator.
Right.
She literally is. And what happened to Tara Reid? We heard nothing.
Yeah.
She had of all the stories of accusations that we've heard in the last few decades, Tara's has been the most detail-filled, the one that actually could have been a believable story in more than the other ones. There was a time, there was a place, there was a motive, there was all sorts of details involved, and. She's just gone. Right? Have you seen any front page news about her or anything?
No, and it was surprising because if it had been Tara with Bill Clinton, she'd be dead.
Yeah, right. She's still alive.
So she's still alive, so.
Something's happened. At least her doppelganger is still alive.
Yeah, well.
I am Tara Reid.
That's right.
But, all right, so we know Kamala will say that. We know that she will do the prosecutorial dirty work required for the job.
Well, she was filthy with Kavanaugh.
Well, that was the last thing I was
going to say. That was unbelievable what she went through on them.
She certainly was willing to accuse him with what seemed like very flimsy evidence.
And like a tiger she was.
Right, exactly. She's very personal. She went right for the jugular in a way that's honestly unprofessional. That it shouldn't be. And it's because she's not used to losing. She thinks all no holds are barred, and there are things you don't do as a principal attorney. That I'm not sure that the lines are clear for her.
Okay.
And so she didn't come across to me as either A, presidential, or B, very friendly. So
yeah, well, I think the friendly's out the door. But it is interesting when I look at, as you say, there are certain things you do in court, and once again, 8 minutes of what's his name in Justice for All at the end. You're out of order. I think that was one of the best scenes on the whole planet. Maybe she did some of that. I don't know. Okay, moving on.
Okay, go ahead.
Now I'm going to come back to some of this stuff that's a little out of order
You
here.
got the 25th Amendment thing on there, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, keep going.
Yelp is now placing
Oh, my
business
God.
accused of racist behavior alerts on company pages. Now, what's happened is, the Yelp, it's interesting because the Yelp, apparently, if you go to a restaurant or a motel or something like that, you can write a review.
Mm-hmm.
And there can make a difference as to whether you sign up or not.
They've become popular.
It got popular, and but the article here was written.
Back in my day, it was AAA.
Right, exactly. And I can tell you, interesting you should mention that. And the one thing about AAA, I will say, is that you can write to them, and they'll at least acknowledge. You used to be able to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Continuing with this extortion
You can do that
effort.
with Yelp too.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But continuing with this extortion effort of businesses, its business model expansion review Yelp website Yelp, which in the past has been accused of making business owners pay to get negative reviews taken off the site. So apparently now they're getting into the social justice business, it says. And this guy says these two just go well together. In a blog post Thursday, Yelp said that it is now appending a quote, business accused of racist behavior alert to any business's page where they have been accused of racism. Well, this, of course, is, as you know, is the same thing that when you call up 911 and say that the next door's wife is being beat to death or something,
Right,
and they
right,
send a
right.
SWAT team.
It's a drug deal.
Yeah, right, drug deal, right. And he continues, now it continues, this is from Yelp, now when a business gains public attention for reports of racist conduct, such as using racist language or symbols, whatever that means, Yelp will place
Like a
new...
MAGA hat.
Yeah, right, that's right. Business accused of racist behavior alert, a RARB, I call that, RARBA, on their Yelp page to inform users, along with a link to the news article where they can learn more about the incident. This is interesting, of course, is that, and they have a link to apparently the story that says whatever was racist, so that people can go, that's what they call when you cite something,
Okay.
And but it is pretty devastating when you get a negative review. And of course, I don't know to what extent you can write back and say this is wrong. Can you do that on Yelp?
I'm sure you can. I mean, look. First of all, it's private business.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want. I mean, if they want to have a Nazi alert or whatever they want, they can do it. And their business's model is only as good as their reviews are. I mean, if the reviews start to suck, or they start to say things like, this restaurant was full of white people, or something, I don't know what. I mean, whatever they feel like saying, if they're no good, people will stop tuning in.
Yeah.
And so it's just up to them. And I read one story that said they're doing this because internally Yelp has some accusations of racism or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is their fix. Is look how good we are.
Look how good we are, yeah.
Well,
I think they're treading on thin ice here, myself, because
yeah. Well,
when you write a review that says something about racist, and I'm not sure I don't know how it gets up there. I mean, does it pass automatically from the Yelp people if you say, I walked in there and they weren't serving black people or something? Or?
Well, they have a review system for all their reviews, I'm sure. I mean, you submit things, and then based on how well you do, I'm sure you get bonus points. It's like any of those things. You get reviews.
Right.
You start to become you're a favored reviewer now,
Right.
and look, you're a 3-star reviewer or whatever it is, and then.
Well, I know it on Amazon, for instance, you can get if you buy the product from Amazon, they give you a notch up or something. But
Bona fide purchaser, whatever.
Right. Well, the other thing that I noticed they said, which is interesting, there are people that I forget what the word is when you go in and you spam the Amazon reviews, either negative or positive.
Right. Yeah, there's a bunch of things like that. I mean, if you see...
And they kind of figure it out after a while.
Well, I mean, I fell for it one time. I bought a product, and it was like there was like 7 reviews, 12 reviews, 7 and 16 on the other products next to it, and then this one had 700 reviews. All positive. And I was like, oh, look at that. No, nobody was reviewing that type of product. 700 purchases, they were all fake, and I didn't realize until I got it here and it didn't work. But they took it back. So
they're good. I will say that Amazon is real good about that.
Super.
I mean, half the time you don't have to send it back; they just send you a new one.
Yeah,
they've done that for me.
So I mean, I'm not too worried about the review. Now look, it does you get into questionable territory when you stray from the business model, which is review the damn product.
Right.
Okay. Now, I mean, if somebody heard a racist word in there, the question is, does that poison the whole environment? I mean, was it a customer? Was it an employee?
Right.
Was it the manager? Did the person get fired because of it? I mean, it's too subjective. I mean, how are you going to patrol that particular thing? How are they on their treatment of women? Where's the misogyny checklist?
Well, not only that,
LGBTQ.
As you know, in this day of snowflake, you can be offended for almost anything.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not.
Are you going to have a list of things that we double check? We only serve people who are pro-choice or something, or I don't know what.
Well, it's not only that. The waiter sashayed over here. I think he was gay.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It could be anything that, and so it'll work itself out though, because the review has got to be useful to the people who go to Yelp.
Yeah.
And so,
well, like you said, in a restaurant, was the food any good? Is the main thing.
Right. Exactly. So, I'm not worried about it.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, the market figures it all out eventually.
Exactly. I'm talking about. The pendulum will swing back. I understand the NBA is going to discontinue some of the court markings and things like that next season. They're already talking about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see.
The NBA, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. The National Basketball Association.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, this is something that you can come up with.
Okie doke.
This is a legal thing.
Ooh.
A Michigan homeowner under fire for booby trapping his Trump yard sign that kept getting stolen.
Okay.
Did you see it?
No.
Okay. Well, what happened was, apparently, a homeowner in Commerce Township decided to tape sharp razor blades.
Oh, I did see this one. Yeah.
To the bottom of the sign, next to the sign they put out. The blades lined the bottom of the Trump Pence 2020 sign, so that the next vandal would be in for a surprise. Well, the next vandal was a city employee.
What terrible luck.
I know. The 52-year-old man a guy came over to remove the sign, getting his fingers sliced open in the process. Ooh, God! I cringe just thinking about that.
Hideous.
But it turns out the man was a civic worker who had been ordered by the township supervisor to remove the sign for violating the town ordinances.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, this guy thinks that the sign had been stolen once or twice before. I know a friend of mine here, when he has his Trump sign out there, it regularly gets stolen and or trashed or something.
Well,
on 8th Avenue. The ordinance. This is what's interesting.
Trump sign.
The ordinance specifies how close a political sign can be to a public roadway, and the sign on the private property was deemed 10 feet too close. Well, what's interesting here, we've got an ordinance that says you can't have more than one per. If you're on a corner, you can have 2.
Yeah.
One for each corner, but on the front. But that regularly, I've seen people all the time got 3 or 4 or 5 on there, and nobody comes around. And of course, what this guy was saying was, nobody told me. In other words, why didn't they put a sign on me, a warning, said you can't have your sign out here before they took it away?
Yeah, well, sometimes they do. I mean, I put out some signs one time, and I had a phone number on there, and the regulator called and said, well, it's $150 per sign, or you can go pick them up.
Yeah, right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I said, no problem. I said, you won't see any of them. Now unfortunately for the guy, you don't do this kind of stuff. I mean, you don't booby trap things, because you don't know, it could be a dang kid walks up there and cuts themselves on it. I mean, it's just, you don't leave booby traps around, and that's a well-known thing in the law, and the guy's going to be in big trouble for it, depending on how hurt
The guy apparently, you know, when you think about it, if you have razor blades down there and you come up,
Yeah, but
he
you're
apparently sliced-
pretty sensitive. As soon as your finger feels that, you might be jumping back, and so hopefully he just got a little
sliced him
Neosporin.
up pretty bad.
Well, that's what you would say.
Yeah, I
I
know,
mean,
that's
you
what
would
he said.
characterize it. You would say, you know, a huge gash. You know, I mean, no, I think it did say stitches.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of gash.
That's a gash, I'll tell you. Now, I did see another picture where a guy had put wire around the sign and had a sign on there that says electrified or something.
Uh huh.
Now, does that count? Can you do that?
No, you can't do that because again, you don't know if if a child wanders up there and.
I was watching. I was binging again on YouTube, and I saw where they were installing a fence, a huge fence for a pasture, and one of the things they did was to electrify the top of the fence, and they showed how they did it, and it was 800 feet long or something like that. But it was to keep the cows and the horses that if they came on over there, they get a little zap.
Uh-huh.
So my question is, if you had something like that around your sign, no good, huh?
Well, no, that does work. That is to say, if you protect against the danger in some way, that mitigates. I mean, you've taken action and you've mitigated the risk.
Mm-hmm.
So, to the extent that you're successful doing that, then you're not going to suffer any tort.
Well, one thing is, I would guess, I'm pretty sure, that the electro fence stuff is not lethal.
Right, it's not, and that's what you're going to argue.
Yeah.
But it's going to depend on what exactly happened. I mean, if a child wanders up and sticks their tongue on it or something, I mean, you just never know what exactly. Yeah, look, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the weird things happen. I mean,
I know that's what you see when you see the warning labels on stuff, and you think,
how is that possible?
How is that a warning?
Right, exactly.
Well, obviously something
And
happened.
do not stick your eyeball on this fence.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of. And some kid's like, what do we got here? So.
God knows I did a bunch of that stuff.
Well, of course. When you're a kid, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you start climbing over it or whatever, and you fall. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's.
Well, the one good thing about being a kid is
around.
a lot of times it heals.
Yes, they're very durable.
Yeah.
So.
They're like lizards. They grow back their tail or something.
All right. What else we got?
Okay. We're talking about this. No more debate. Joe Biden is ahead. Democrats still stressed. Joe Biden leads Donald Trump nationally and is running ahead, or even with him in most of the swing state polls. He is besting Trump on just about every question atop voters' minds, from the coronavirus to health care to law and order. So that's according to some of the reviews. I've seen a bunch of them now.
There you go.
And I would guess that I don't know if the Trump people get nervous about this or not. I mean, if I were those guys, I wouldn't be. But
What do you mean?
if I were the Trump people, I wouldn't be worried about something. Not
Nervous about what? Answering a poll?
about no. If I was a Trump advisor, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't worry about this when they come out and say your opponent is ahead.
Right. Well, look, it's obviously a delicate balance in terms of the advertisement. You want to say your guy's ahead because you want to say we're the winner. But you don't want to be too far ahead because then everybody's like, oh, well, then we can stay home.
Right. Well, that's always a thing. Well, of course, there are other things as well that are going to happen here in a couple of days, and that is two things. One is the phenomenal number of ballots that are being mailed in. I got my call today, the first.
Okay.
I got a call from one of the people here in town that's running for something.
Mm-hmm.
And, and he said, have you gotten want to know if I'd gotten my ballot yet? I said, I've already sent it back. Oh, yeah. Well, congratulations. So
Thank you for doing your civic
thank you for
duty.
doing civic service. That's right.
Your acquiescence to
But it is interesting to see apparently the number of mail-in ballots are going to be quite substantial.
I would imagine it's going to be off the charts.
Yeah.
Triple or something what the normal numbers are.
3 weeks we have to go through this.
Yeah. That's the only good news they've had a lot of time to prepare. Hopefully they've been running, I'm sure they've run all kinds of tests.
I tell you here, and I talked about this before. Here it is. they've already started. You can mail in, at least around here, you can mail in your ballot 3 weeks ahead. You can vote. And I forget when you can actually walk in and vote. In about 2 weeks, you have about a week to walk in and vote.
Oh, okay.
If you want to do it in person, but even not even, you don't have to go down there on a regular day. I mean,
Good.
so I mean, I've done that, and it had been like nobody there. You go 4 days before the actual.
Well,
day.
this time there will really be nobody there because all the poll workers used to be 80 years old, and they're not going to go in there with the potential.
They've had a lot of that too. That'll be interesting to see how that figures out. Yeah, right. I mean, you talk about
It's just unmanned poll. You just go
well,
in
I
there,
can tell you this
some
much.
robot.
It's when you walk in there, you got to be real careful because you might stumble over the walkers that are all stacked up there from the poll workers. So, okay. Now the other thing is the coup is not over yet.
Okay.
Speaker Pelosi introduces legislation creating a commission on the president's physical and mental capacity.
The 25th Amendment.
25th Amendment.
Yes.
Speaker Pelosi hinted on Thursday that she will be discussing the 25th Amendment along with Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin. The Speaker will introduce legislation establishing a congressional commission to evaluate the president's mental fitness and physical health. In introducing the legislation on Friday, the Speaker said the president's fitness for office must be determined by science and facts. Now, what's interesting, of course, to me, is this isn't really so much about Trump.
Dun dun dun.
Here's where it is, and if I were Biden, I'd be wondering, hey, say, why would you introduce something like this? About the new bill establishing a congressionally appointed body to review the president's capability to serve. Raskin notes that it's only be used in, quote, the most extreme situation.
Yeah.
Now, how do you think, have you seen the hyperbole that floats around this election that they talk about?
Everybody's very even keel.
Oh,
Nobody ever used murderer, Nazi, murderer, racist, homophobe, whatever.
Speaker Pelosi insisted that her legislation is unrelated to the general election, which is now less than a month away. Well, that may be. It's related to January 23rd.
That's it.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, the GOP people said an obvious political stunt. And he said, now you knew about this, Speaker Pelosi does not have the ability to invoke the 25th Amendment herself. Now,
well,
I mean, you don't need a commission. The thing about it is this: if the 25th Amendment, I think, is supposed to be if the president is incapacitated, has a stroke, and he's
right.
That's
right.
But what happens if he just goes nuts?
Same thing.
But who's going to decide?
Well, that's the whole point. And so what normally, they realize, well, wait a minute, it's not exactly, they shouldn't necessarily have to do an impeachment because, I don't know why, because that would be fine, I guess because, it looks bad or something. So this is a different way to do it when it's not an impeachment of.
But I wonder physically what happens.
Because there's no high crime or misdemeanor or anything. And so
but he suddenly just starts gurgling and burbling and walking around doing crazy stuff.
Right, that's the whole point.
Who decides what it is and then who does the actual removal and takeover and all? Who does all that?
So what happens is, as it stands right now, the cabinet would get together with the vice president.
Okay.
And they would say, and if a bare majority of the cabinet.
Now, how many? There's 12 or 14 people in the cabinet?
I don't know. Right now, they always expand.
Yeah, they got another new one.
But if they vote that this is incapacity of any type,
okay, and
the vice president goes along with it, then that's it. He's removed.
Physically removed, I guess, huh?
Well, what they'll do is they would issue the vice president issues a statement that he's in control. Now, the president can come back and issue a statement that I'm back in control. And basically then it becomes a contest of wills at some point. It's that would be a tough one if the president could make a a good case, you know. He's like, I'll do a speech right now, you know.
Yeah.
And he just comes out and he talks extemporaneously for a couple hours about what a bunch of crap it is and that it's unjust and everything and unconstitutional. And then everybody goes,
but if he comes out and starts talking about space aliens and
then they go, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean,
look, hey, we got a new office for you.
There was Well, there are two things to consider here. One, first of all, this is very important. I've never done this before, but this was all done on West Wing.
Oh, shut up! Oh, no way.
This is what happened.
Oh, yeah, it was with the.
He went under the knife and was out.
Yeah.
For a couple of hours or something, Bartlett was, and but he hadn't signed the letter.
Right.
And there was a big deal. You know, who was in charge during that time? And of course, there was a whole show. I thought it was pretty.
It was very well done.
Very well done.
Very poignant. And
when I tell you, don't diss
don't
me.
Don't sleep on West Wing.
Every time you dump
this
on me.
Show brought to you by West Wing.
I mean, God.
Aaron Sorkin, you owe us money.
That's right.
Well, look. You're absolutely right. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be for. The good news is that, I mean, what this Nancy is proposing is to create a body that's not the cabinet.
Right.
And that is authorized by the 25th Amendment, the creation of said body.
Okay. I didn't know.
But it is authorized, what it says is Congress can create the body as an operation of law. That is, Congress can do it by law. Which means that Congress has to have the president's signature, or they have to have a veto override in order to pass it.
Okay.
So they're not going to be able to pass this bill that she's floating out there without Trump's signature,
right,
or Biden's signature.
Right.
Biden's just go long enough to sign it, if you ask me. Actually, he's
would anybody tell him that it's his death warrant? His out of office warrant.
I can totally see him signing it, and I can totally see them using it on him within a matter of weeks. But
weeks,
days. That day, they walk out the other door.
Here, we got the piece of paper.
That's like, it. Okay, come on in.
Yeah. It'd be like when what's his name came back with the "We've peace in our time." From
right.
Hitler.
Yeah, that's it. And the tanks rolling in behind him. No, I mean that's the kind of thing it very well could be, because they're otherwise it's just too easy. If you've got the votes to override the veto, you just do the impeachment.
Right. That's right. Yeah, it seemed to me like this was an extra layer of something.
Well, it is. Well, like I said, it was for emergency things to do when there's no crime involved.
Okay.
And you've got the vice president on board as the safety valve.
Well, I can tell you.
And in that time, by then, the vice president was already the member of the same party. It wasn't like you were going to use
That's right.
The opposite party vice president guy to go against him.
Yeah, I don't know how. I wonder how long that was for, until the Civil War or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Was, I mean, even Andrew Jackson was. Eric Johnson. Excuse me, Johnson, who was Lincoln's vice president.
Mm-hmm.
They hated each other, so I forget. I don't think I'm not sure they're the same party or not. He was almost impeached by one vote after Lincoln died. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to have something else to say about the. Of course, if you're talking about blithering idiot. Now, I can tell you, I've been in situations like this where, in business, I remember, where the owner of the business was going a little nuts. And of course, now I had the opportunity, which I did, was to walk out the door and say, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
But the idea was there was some thing in there because of franchise agreements and so forth. Could you take over the franchise?
Right.
And it was. It was real. It
gets dicey.
It's very dicey.
Yeah, because anybody, as you can see, anybody can allege incapacity, and they can come up with evidence. You know, Trump's crazy because he passed a thing with China. How could you possibly believe a tariff would be good? You can't.
Right.
You know, you saw Oberman's thing this week.
Oh, now look, Keith Olbermann is. You talk about somebody that. Now let me put it this way: if he was president and said that, that's it. That's the nutcase.
It's run for your lives. Yeah.
No, that's when you take him out.
But you've seen the movie V for Vendetta, right?
Oh yeah.
So Didn't he remind you of the news guy in the opening sequence there when they're getting ready and the news guy is going off about the rebels and
In the opening sequence.
well, maybe it's the first scene, I guess.
Nice. You know, the only thing I remember is after what's her name got snagged and her hair cut off, and
Oh, okay.
I mean and then of course when he was fighting them all off at the end and everything, that was always good. And
There you go.
And then they blew it up.
Right. So anyway, there is a newsman in V for Vendetta who is reminiscent of Oberman in a way that is prescient by the filmmakers.
Ah.
They
All
foresaw,
right.
yeah, I mean, perfect.
Oh my God, that's great.
brilliant. I mean, home run, everything.
You know, this reminds me, of course, a thing on YouTube when you see the 20 times that The Simpsons, you know.
Oh yeah, no, this is one of those things. It's like, you know what? There's going to be a news dude who's going to lose his freaking mind.
Yeah.
And now in the movie, the news guy is super popular, and of course,
Right.
Oberman now is pretty much. They think
Jeez.
everybody's like kook, you know.
Yeah.
And they just watch it for the.
Remember, you remember
entertainment.
Baghdad Bob?
Uh,
He was the one that was he was the spokesperson for Saddam Hussein.
oh right.
They call him Baghdad.
We're
Bob.
doing great here.
I mean,
in
literally
the
in the
capital.
background,
Right.
You can see the missiles
tanks rolling in.
tanks rolling in and taking out the air, and he's still saying, "We're gonna take them out."
That's it.
Baghdad. Oh my God. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next thing I've got is it has to do. We talked a few minutes ago about the first thing I had on here was what? Just a second. Don't tell me. Yelp business. Let's see. You know that was it. No, it was the other one that they had social engineering or something.
Oh, you brought up the declassification thing too. I don't know if I got to say everything on that.
Which declassification?
The Hillary and the Russia thing. Didn't you bring that up a minute ago?
No.
Oh.
No, what I did do was I had another thing that business accused me, Michigan under fire, and I forgot where.
Court packing?
No, it didn't talk about court packing. That's another thing. No, what I got was the fact that Twitter has decided to temporary speech codes. They're going to have some very stringent speech codes between now until the day after the election.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Under the guise of stopping whatever it declares to be misinformation, Twitter announced on Friday the tech giant is implementing temporary speech codes that will last until the Americans cast their ballots. Starting October 20th, which is like in about a week, users will be required to add comments before being allowed to retweet posts. The goal of the new speech codes is to slow the spread of certain speech before Election Day. The Liberal company, also says it will remove speech recommended by people who users don't follow the rules. Users will only see recommendations under the quote "For You" tab, and only when additional quote context has been provided. Twitter will also add labels and warnings to whatever speech it deems misleading. So as far as Twitter has said that as far as they're concerned, they have a critical role to play in protecting the integrity of the election conversation, and we encourage candidates, campaigns, news outlets, and voters to use Twitter respectfully and to recognize our collective responsibility to the electorate to guarantee a safe, fair, and legitimate safe, fair, and legitimate democratic process this November. So I thought it was interesting that they again are going to curate the comments, and if you want to retweet it, for a while you're going to have to say why you're retweeting it. You can't just retweet it. And apparently there's some
So weird.
Yeah, and apparently you can only retweet it to your friends or something, or the people who follows you, and nobody else. You can't. I don't know exactly what the rule is.
Right. It doesn't go to the general public or something.
I don't know, but anyway, they've decided to, because of the quote misinformation. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, that's fine. I did notice this morning on Scott Adams, he mentioned, and I didn't write them all down, but there are now like 9 different platforms that you can go to that don't do this stuff.
Well, he's been shooting himself in the foot for a while on this. And
Who, Scott?
No.
Twitter.
Jack.
Jack, yeah.
From
Darcy,
Twitter.
or what is his name?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had a great thing going, and now there are several platforms, like you said, that are trying to compete for his.
Right.
And he had the only one of this short thing, but look, he's a billionaire, whatever. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm sure he feels better about doing social work with his company than.
Yeah. I mean, that's all well and fine. You always worry about people that are trying to think what's good for me. I mean,
Well, I mean, he can't do anything to you. He can't. I mean, it's all just him limiting his own business, and so I mean, this is like, I mean, what's he gonna do? Like we always say. I mean, he has no power to come to your door with a gun.
No, not at all. None of that. That's true, and it does. It is interesting though if you have. As we've seen,
shoot, we don't even pay the guy.
No, right? No, that's true. That's true. Well, I did see that there are apparently several, more than a couple of platforms now that are Gab and Parler and some other stuff now that have apparently a little looser in what they're doing, trying to.
Yeah, and I've gone on them and played with them a bit, and I guess some of the people who were banned permanently from Twitter are over there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun a little bit, but I find myself gravitating back towards Twitter mostly because there's just so many more people on Twitter.
That's why I still do Facebook. I did get a personal note from Stefan Molyneux. Apparently, he's been sliced off apparently a couple of these platforms.
Yeah, he got hit hard one time.
I mean,
he goes hard in the paint on some of his beliefs. I mean, he phrases it in ways that it's like he's trying to be provocative. He doesn't have to be, but I mean, whatever. It's like yeah, I'm with you. It's free speech. He can say whatever he wants.
Well, when you say there's no hint. In fact, he's anti-violence. There's no hint of violence. That's the thing about it. It's
no,
one thing
but he phrases his commentary in ways that is going to trigger the far left. I mean, you just know. I mean, his comments on race and IQ and women and reproductive stuff. And there's nothing. It's not like he's making shit up or anything. But and like you said, I mean, the guy's a philosopher and he's not into violence in any way. I mean, he's not even into state enforcement of general laws.
No. He really is out of that, and it's interesting because he has a call-in show that he does, of course.
Oh yeah.
Also, hours worth. It's almost like Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it'll be an hour, at least an hour. A couple times a week for
He's
a call-in.
Just a little out there for me, little kooky.
I know. No. Well, I can tell you now how I got started with him, as you probably know, was when he got started.
Yeah. I remember he called us.
2006.
Yeah.
Because we wrote him and told him how to get on.
Yeah.
And said, here's some of your problems. And this is before he was married, and he was coming up with some stuff about marriage.
Before his website and everything.
Yeah, before his website and everything. What he was doing in 2006, I think it was, is he had he was a software engineer guy in his company, and he would take his laptop and he would drive 30 minutes to work and opine on philosophical stuff, and it was pretty good stuff. I've still got some of it floating around here and everything, but that's where he got started, and it got very popular with it. It was all made pretty good sense to me. But then I remember one time he was talking about marriage, and I wrote him and I said, Lay, you need to be very careful because you're not married yet, and I am.
Right.
And I'm gonna pull rank on you.
Well, he's a philosopher, but he'll openly say that he's never done any drugs or alcohol.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, I mean, that seems a little interesting. But like I said, he's a kooky guy, but whatever.
Well, he's not that kooky by a long shot. Not to be banned. That's the thing that got me. I don't understand why they banned it.
Well, because they're super sensitive right now.
Well, that's right.
And so, I mean, it's you can say anything.
Well, he had like 1 million followers, for God's sakes. He got millions of downloads on his stuff. He's got all his free books and everything he does.
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with whether what you're saying is offensive or not. And they're so sensitive. Obviously, they got Yelp doing it now.
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff. I mean, so.
Well, that's one of the things is that this is like it is over here on campus. I mean, you could be walking across the campus and somebody over there 50 yards away is offended by something you did, and the next thing you know, you're hauled up in front of the student council.
Well, you wonder. I mean, that's the question is how much power do people have? And we still got this rule basically about touching, no touching. You know, any type of unconsented touching. You know, you take your finger and you literally touch somebody on their arm. That's battery. And you can get convicted of that just for touching somebody.
Unless you're a cop.
Well, right, because they have to be able to arrest people, so they got to be able to...
I know, but I mean, they can battery you anyway before they arrest you, I think. But
no, that's part of it. I mean, they have to be...
Qualified immunity.
In the process of a legal investigation.
Yeah, okay, right.
But, and you also can't scare somebody, but other than that, you can do a bunch of stuff.
You can't scare anybody?
No, that's regular assault. You're not supposed to...
I need to tell Ms. Jimmy about this.
Yeah, no, seriously. Every time she walks in on you, that's assault.
I mean, I jump.
Yeah. So, but there is
and
no...
It's also elder abuse.
There you go. See, double felony. So, but there is no, at this point yet, in this country anyway, there is in Canada and the UK, but there is no offensive language charge. But you can't be offended. I mean, you can't be arrested just for cursing somebody out, for example.
Really?
Yeah. Even the cops. Even the cops.
Really?
Yes.
No, I don't believe that.
Well,
they do it all the time.
Well, they may find something in what you say.
No, but what I mean is,
don't try this at home, okay, folks?
No, but no. What I meant was, I have seen where the guy's at a stop. He's got his window down, and the cop is sitting there, and just, I mean, sailor cursing him up and down, the driver for not cooperating or something.
Okay.
And the guy's just sitting there. And I mean, the F word, the F bomb, everything you can imagine.
So, yeah, you're allowed to do that. That's what I'm saying.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just said you couldn't do that.
No, I'm saying don't try it.
Oh, right.
I'm saying, but you're allowed to drop F-bombs and curse people, whatever it is, you know. I mean, there are a couple of categories of things you can't say, but you won't think of those. Don't worry about that. The point is that you know, you can't, if you say something racial and you just that's all you do, that in and of itself is not a hate crime.
Ah.
So there is no standard. We still have freedom of speech to some extent around here. So
well, we'll see. Well, my solution has always been to learn the words in Swedish and then holler them out at them. So
yeah, there you go. Curse them out in foreign language.
that's it. That's what you do. Okay, the last thing I've got here is Planned Parenthood expands transgender services.
Okay.
I'm sitting there thinking, what? Now, I don't have the whole article here because I couldn't pull it off, but it was interesting. The Planned Parenthood Centers of Florida, basically, they're expanding on their transgender services this month by offering 20 daily teletherapy and new patient telehealth appointments, in addition to their original in-person treatments. Now, these are transgender people, and I guess these are women that are transitioning to men and men that are transitioning to women.
That would about cover it.
Okay, and they're going to Planned Parenthood. Okay, and I guess they're trying to get, well, I'm not sure what it is. The Planned Parenthood has decided...
They offer all kinds of services.
Well, they decided to offer all appointments online and train therapists to provide mental and behavioral health counseling. What they do is they're training the staff to be gender inclusive online, so patients transitioning could have a comfortable, welcoming atmosphere while seeking treatment from home.
So what's wrong with that?
Well, it's Planned Parenthood, and I just thought, normally it's...
What if somebody who's transitioning gets pregnant?
Yeah.
They gotta know what the hell to do, right? I mean...
Pregnant? You're having a baby.
Let me tell you what you're gonna do.
Yeah, let me tell you how this works, okay? I'm setting the calendar here.
Yeah, a few months.
9 months, yeah.
That's right.
So
and then you have
and so here you are, you're pregnant and you're transitioning to a male.
Yeah.
So you're taking testosterone shots, or
maybe
if
all you've done is the cosmetic stuff. You know,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, it's all of the above. So whatever. I mean,
They said the woman here said that Planned Parenthood in Florida serves over 500,000 LGBTQXYZ people. I thought that's a lot of people. That Planned Parenthood serves over 500,000 LGBTQ patients. That's a bunch.
nationwide?
No, in Florida. Just in Florida.
No.
Well, again, that's the population of Florida
That's
is 20,
5%.
yeah,
I mean,
22 million.
Yeah.
And so right. So it's just to me, when I think of Planned Parenthood, I think that you go in there and of course, it's a misnomer because you're walking in there and you're saying I'm pregnant, and I need to find a way to deal with this, and of course, apparently their first response is have an abortion. In Planned Parenthood, instead of deal with it. Have you thought about anything else?
That's what they say.
Huh?
I said, how do you know that's what they say? They probably.
That's what they say. They say. What are you talking about? It's they. Look, I've said this before.
Hey, I know what they're talking. I know what they say.
Miss Jimmy says this all the time. They say that. I said, who?
Right.
They.
Yeah.
And so it's
exactly.
But
I mean,
they are talking about other they.
Look, you got to figure at Planned Parenthood, whatever's going on in there, you got a human meeting with another human. Chances are, they're talking it out in a way that's productive. I mean, it's a person. They decided they needed the service, so who knows what they're going to do?
Then Planned Parenthood is in the harvesting the fetus business.
So we need you to sign right here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was
Step into the blender.
What, Jim, what's his name? That guy who was, I forget what the name of his organization was. That went around with the secret microphones to check on all this stuff.
Right.
I forget what it's called.
O'Keefe.
Huh? Yeah, O'Keefe. Yeah, that's the guy.
Right. Well, I mean, there was a time. Look, I mean, in that business, there was leftover
body parts. Yeah. All right. Okay.
So what are you gonna do?
No. Well, that's true. What are you gonna do? I suppose.
All right. Well, okay. I got a couple things here real quick. So I meant to mention about the 25th Amendment thing. There's no way Trump's going to sign this thing because one of the conditions that they would have if Nancy were to get it through is, I guarantee you, they would have mental health exams as one of the conditions. That is to say, upon a showing by X body or whatever, the president will submit to a mental health exam. And we all know, or everybody should know, if you're ever asked to submit to a mental health exam, don't do it unless it's required by law because they will find something wrong with you. And trust me.
Let me tell you, what is so funny is when you see, like in the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or any of these other, where they're trapped in there and they're saying, look, I'm not crazy.
Right.
Well,
that's denial.
Right. That right away, that marks you as crazy.
That's it. So, okay. Biden, I guess he thinks he's getting away with not talking about the court packing thing.
Ah, okay.
I mean, because he keeps saying, I'm not going to talk about it.
Right.
Which, I mean, the obvious inference from that is you don't want to
pack the crap out.
Exactly. I mean, it's like it's not like we don't know. What does that mean? So I can't believe they started that line. Now they've tried to change the narrative a bit.
Oh yeah.
I saw today they came out with a new word. Now instead of court packing, it's called depoliticizing. We're for depoliticizing the court. And it'll probably very quickly become deracializing the court, and probably decolonializing the court, or whatever it is.
Well, what's
decolonizing?
Yeah,
depatriarchal
something. Well, the whole thing is what's in this depoliticizing is kind of interesting because almost by definition, the court's not supposed to be political. It's not supposed to rule on political stuff.
Right. Well, that's why.
By definition.
That's right. If we depoliticize it by adding a few more members, things will be better.
Well, but it's already there.
No. See, it's political right now.
Oh.
It's weighted. It's conservative, and so we want to depoliticize it by adding a few members.
Let's just get rid of the political ones.
Or that we could do that.
Yeah.
But either way,
them.
that's it. Take your pick. So anyway,
What's the minimum number, I wonder, on the Supreme Court? There's no minimum number, is there?
You know, that's interesting. It may have actually, for some reason rings a bell, like it was explored at one time and they decided 5.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Got to be an odd number, though, because it's terrible when one of them dies or leaves or something, and there's for a while there's an even number.
Right.
Boy, does that suck.
Yeah. And that may be why 3 was too few, or I don't know, I could be making shit up right there.
Well, what's interesting, you should say that, because it is true that on the inferior courts, very often there's 3.
Right. Well, that's a normal panel of judges. I mean, you know, if you get that, I mean, that's a good... You're getting some, that's filtration right there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get through a panel of judges or justices, then you got something. You said something right.
Yeah.
So, all right. COVID news? Any COVID news?
COVID news. Good question, didn't I?
I got a couple of things on it.
Okay.
Maybe it'll ring a bell.
Yeah, start me out.
So, the WHO.
Yes. Well, and of course, what's interesting is apparently let me put it this way. If you've ever driven up a Swiss mountain and there's a switchback, you go like this, and that's what WHO apparently is doing.
That's where they live, is at the top of the Swiss mountain.
Whatever, but the point is that they've come to think of it, masks, or the shutdown, the lockdown actually doesn't do any good. Science, right. Their definition of science has changed several times over the last 6 months.
Well, and one should infer from that actually science can change.
Understand that. I understand that. I do understand that.
In this case, it's probably not the case. It's probably just people's opinions.
Well, I think that anybody that's followed this at all has realized that the WHO is, you talk about political organization. I mean, aren't they pretty much owned by the Chinese or something?
Well, look, okay, this has to be pointed out. Whenever you start talking about groups of experts, you got to remember something. No, the group of experts doesn't know any better than the best expert in the group.
Right, well, in fact, the group knows less.
Right. Most of the time.
That's the key.
Most of the time, the group knows something. It's some inferior, one of the... To trust a group of experts is no better than to trust a single expert.
How can you say that when 95% of the scientists are saying that we're in for doomsville on the climate change?
Yeah, exactly. It's 97. Come on.
Yeah.
Science.
It's like an Iraqi election.
90, it's 100% for Saddam. Okay. Well, a couple of more things on the COVID thing. You know, and some people know this as well. People are hard to change. They don't change very, very easily and quickly. One of the things that changes people, though, is near-death experience.
Absolutely. No question. Trauma.
There you go. Boris Johnson had a near-death experience. Is he changed from the COVID thing as a trauma survivor? Recently, Boris came out and said that they're going to have all wind energy in the UK by 2030. And he came out with this rule of 6 thing recently.
Really? The only thing, now the other thing they're doing, which he probably has an input on, is apparently this Brexit thing's getting ready to blow up again. Oh.
Well, I don't know. We'll see about that. But keep your eye on Boris because he's acting a little bit funky.
Okay.
And from my perspective, the couple of things I've seen recently don't seem like the old Boris anymore. And maybe it's just a couple of things.
Now, I'm curious to know, when did he get out of the
back in April, I think.
Okay. Because I can tell you from personal experience. I had a traumatic experience, with a lung transplant.
Is there a delay?
Yeah, about 5 years. I was
5 years.
I mean, I was
until you realized the trauma of it. You mean?
No. Oh. I realized the trauma right off the bat, and I changed during those 5 years.
Okay, so you're saying that the change doesn't take place right away?
I'm saying the change takes place right away, but it wears off.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Now. Trump also, here's the thing about the trauma, doesn't have to be real. It can be believed by, it just has to be believed by the person suffering it. For example, if you're on a plane that almost crashes, for a few minutes, You think you're going to die.
Yeah.
And then the plane pulls out of it, everybody's fine. You didn't get even hurt. But for a couple of minutes, you thought, I'm going down. And that still can traumatize you.
Oh, no. I told you, I've been binging on airplane crashes on YouTube.
Okay.
And they've interviewed a lot of people that survived.
Uh-huh.
Or that like they nearly did it or something.
Uh-huh.
And they interviewed them. And literally, they were PTSD for years afterwards.
Okay, all right.
I mean, you absolutely proved, I believe you.
So, Trump had some kind of run-in with COVID.
Yeah.
How seriously did he consider his own condition? Now, Boris went unconscious, I think, for a while, and they lapsed into some, thing. I don't know that Trump ever had anything more than the sniffles or anything,
Yeah.
But if he did, it may affect his behavior in some way. I'm just kind of throwing that out there, because anybody in these high positions that has a run-in with this could.
Well, and that's why we need to get Nancy on board here to pass this thing, the 25th Amendment.
There you go.
Yeah, so I have a reason for it.
So, and then there's something called the Barrington Declaration that's going around. Have you seen that? It's supposed to highlight the bad effects of the lockdowns.
Oh, I've seen a bunch of that. I've seen more than one study on that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they're really. I mean, there have done several studies on that said the cure is so worse than the disease.
Mm-hmm.
They have
so we've been waiting for that information to kind of
trickle out. Apparently there's 3 major top people.
Oh yeah.
Have done these studies, and they found out that the damage. Not only the mental damage, but the economic damage is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, just from my personal experience here. How can you not, when you realize that, look, the people that we know here,
mm-hmm.
like we've got some apartments and so forth, and you look at the people are barely scraping by. I mean, not even scrape. They got some trauma.
Yeah.
That
well, and this thing highlights the medical side of it.
Well, they've already said the suicides are way up.
Yes, and that I would think would be a big one, because that's a big number generally.
It is a big number. Yeah, right.
I got to think that the substance abuse people have really
that's another one.
Probably
That's
seen
right.
a gigantic surge, probably a multiple of what it was.
Well, not only
before.
substance abuse, but child abuse.
Yeah, things like that. That's another one. The numbers for that, I think, are relatively small. Now, if we're measuring all things, though, then you got to measure in stuff like there were probably lives saved from the lack of traffic out there.
Some truth to that too. I can tell you. I remember when there was a while around here when Wednesday, I just crash on out into the traffic because there's nobody there.
Right.
Even at rush hour, but there was no rush.
Interesting. So anyway, I'm sure we'll hear more about that. This is just Ireland's 7-day rolling death average and cases. The top half of the graph is cases, and the bottom is deaths. And what you see here is starting at the middle in July, that basically the cases started to increase, but the deaths have not. And this is presumably because the people who are asymptomatic and resistant are now the ones being infected as
right.
people return to normality as much as.
Well, and of course they probably have a lot of testing going on they didn't have before.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they do that. Here is Sweden again getting back to normal, as you can see. Not a lot of masks or anything. No people. I mean, there's people, but they're not doing anything like they're not socially distancing. They're standing right next to each other. They're just normal.
I know.
It just looks like normal life in Sweden. Contrary-wise, this is a this is a new product, which I'm sure everybody will want. This is a filter that clips onto your nose.
It's mighty attractive too. Oh my God! Don't you love capitalism? I mean, you just gotta love the free market.
Oh God!
Part activated. Oh my God! This.
Look, they got these girls smiling. All right, no smile. No smile.
Well, the thing about it is, I wonder if you so why doesn't it cover your mouth? That's a good question, because humans spend most of the time breathing through their nose. Now, the other thing, kind of interesting. I wonder if you walked into the store here in Gainesville with that on, if that would qualify. Probably not.
I don't know. You have to tell them. Yeah, I'm keeping my my mouth shut.
Holy smokes, that's great.
Okay, it gets better.
No, I mean, I love the market system. There's nothing you can't have in the market system.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, this is a prom. I don't know if you can see how well you can see, but all the people are back to back.
What?
They watch when he goes back here. The people are back to back. You see?
Oh yes, I see that.
They're back to back. So that's the new normal around here, which is kind of interesting.
I wonder when I look at stuff like that. Forget, there was something else I was looking at, and I was thinking, why would you even bother?
Yeah.
I mean, why to go to a prom and go back to back? I mean,
I know. Well, it's.
I mean, I'm staying home.
It's crazy. All right, let's see what else we got here, real quick. The declassification I wanted to mention real quick. There was some big hoorah about it going on right now. You heard about it? You know what I'm talking about? This is about the Russia situation.
Oh.
Because Trump has the power at any time to declassify all documents involved. And the question is he going to be exposing intelligence operations and that kind of stuff? And that's the only reason why you wouldn't do it at this point. Well, he said, we're releasing everything, no redactions, here it is, it's out there, whatever. So far, I haven't heard the kaboom. Now, Scott made an interesting point. He said, it's weird because there should be an earth-shattering kaboom right now, and there's not. But if there is going to be one, then we will see. I still have faith in Durham if he's doing the investigation on Hillary and everybody. And it seems the only thing that I know for sure at this point is that Comey negligently filled out the FISA applications.
Right.
And to me, he should be at least reprimanded for that. And they should do an investigation. They should try to determine whether or not he did it on purpose or not. And if he did it on purpose, then he should be obviously disciplined and arrested or whatever, however culpable they feel he is. Now, whether it goes beyond him and that, we'll see. He would have to roll over on somebody. There would have to be direct implications. So Durham has announced at this point there's not going to be any more indictments or anything like that coming out before the election.
Okay, right.
So we'll see what happens after the election. Of course, if there's a change in regime, so to speak, then they will put the kibosh on the whole thing. Make sure.
Remember now, there is no change for 2 or 3 months.
Well, yes, and so that would give them a little bit of time. That's not a lot of time in law enforcement world over the holidays. Nobody does much over the holidays in the law enforcement universe. So it would have to be kind of a high priority. So anyway, we'll see about that. I think people like Hillary and Obama and Biden are just too high up without some kind of real smoking gun, even if they're directly involved. I just don't see it. I've said from the beginning I don't see any major indictments. I think the worst that happens is the FBI reprimands Comey again or something, maybe McCabe or something like that, but we'll see. Still on the plate there. The Norks. You saw Kim maybe...
Big missile.
Yeah, big missile. But...
I did see him walking around and stuff on video, but where was that from and when? And
well, the question is, as you were asking, is did anybody run up to the missile with a big needle?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Give it a poke there.
Give it a poke, yeah.
Or cut the tether and see if it didn't fly away.
It floats away, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's our ICBM. It's like the tanks that they had in the Second World War. And they were blow up tanks that they had to
for the
to fill the Germans flying over. So, maybe. But you never know what's in that tube.
Right. Well, like a guy comes walking out of it or something.
Yeah, right.
Well, those were some big missiles.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be ICBMs.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if they work, that's bad. But, I mean, I'm not too worried
How many
about
can
it.
he have?
Well, yeah, exactly. All right. All right, that's all I got.
Okay. Yeah, we run over a little bit. Will.
No problema. All right, I'm going to play this one video.
Okay.
I do have one cool video as we go out. Let's see here. Hey, where's our music? There it is. Okay. Check this out. We were talking about the hypersonic missile the other day.
Yeah.
This is not that, but it's still pretty cool. It's close. See that?
As an airplane. Huh?
Yeah, but with the sonic cone around it. Here it comes again. You'll see a little glitter. And then
Oh yeah.
kablamo.
Yeah.
And there's a great sonic boom. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, they're hearing it here. There's a little announcement and the kaboom. But anyway, so that is that. So thank you, Kevin MacLeod, for these tracks. We really appreciate it. This has been the Jimmy Doane Show. Find us if you feel like it. Here's our Bitcoin QR code and our Ethereum paper wallet. You can donate to our show for that. They got a copy of this book here if you want. It'll help you out with the whole protesting thing. So we'll be back on the 20th. No, the 20th. The 14th. Hey, happy birthday, Alex. So, I'm Counselor Curtis, Jimmy Doane Show. See ya. Oh, hey, Ricardo.